The notice requirement provided for the Open Publics Meeting law has been satisfied. Notice was properly given. Said notice having been transmitted to the Courier News Tuesday, June 28, 2022, as well as posting on the city's website. Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call, please? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Council members Briggs Jones.
Present.
Councilwoman Davis.
Present.
Councilman Hockaday.
Present.
Councilman McKenna.
Present.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom.
Present.
Vice President McCray. Couldn't hear you.
Present.
Council President Good.
Yes,
We have
present.
all members present and a quorum.
Sorry. Can someone please mute if they know they have background noise, please? Public comments limited to resolutions and motions and ordinances at this time. A total of 30 minutes have been allocated for public comments limited to resolutions and ordinance being considered on this evening. If you wish to be heard, please hit the hand icon to be recognized and you will be unmuted. And once you have been unmuted, you give your name and your address. For the record, each speaker will be given 3 minutes. The floor is now open. The floor is now open. Mrs. Burwinkle, good evening. Your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mary Burwinkle, 1785 Sleepy Hollow Lane. I'm commenting on R 236-21, the resolution appointing a new finance director for the city. I do not personally know the candidate and I've not seen a resume. My comments are about the process, not critical of the person. So the night of the election in November, the mayor announced at political headquarters that PMUA was a 25-year failed experiment. He emphasized that crossing the city, knocking on doors, it was a constant source of complaints and that it needed to be dissolved. Now, 7 months later, with virtually no public meetings or input from taxpayers, the administration is having a vote on the subject at a special meeting on the eve of 4th of July weekend when many people may not be around. Meanwhile, the candidate for director of finance was a key executive officer of PMUA. Does it make sense to soundly condemn an organization on the way it conducted business and then promote one of its chief executive officers to city finance director? Was there a published search for this position and for how long? How many candidates were interviewed? Was the mayor involved at all in hiring and selection process? Who made this hiring decision? I'm asking because I understand the candidate is also the mayor's sister-in-law. If the mayor was involved at all, why isn't this a conflict of interest? The municipal code has a code of ethics. Under the code of ethics, no official shall, unless otherwise permitted by law, have any personal interest in any business or transaction with any public body in the city. Personal interest includes an interest involving blood or marriage relationships. The PMUA dissolution and this potential conflict affects everyone in the city and has been one of the least transparent decisions I can recall as a 40-year Plainfield resident. The city is taking this function over. Why do they think they can do it better or cheaper? I'm very disappointed that an administration that initially ran on good government and transparency has apparently devolved into doing whatever it thinks it can get away with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Burwinkle. Are there any more for public comment? Mr. Goldstein, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening. Alan Goldstein, 939 Madison Avenue. You know, the only thing special about this meeting tonight is that from top to bottom, it's an insult to all the residents of this city, particularly the employees of PMUA and their families who've been made to sit on hot coals while the mayor's insurrection plays out. Starting at the bottom of this agenda, where it belongs, as it's indicative of the bottom of the mayor's consciousness, is the appointment as finance director, the top executive of a so-called failed experiment, who just happens to be the mayor's sister-in-law. This is just pure greed and nepotism. Now back to the top of the agenda. If politicians like Adrian Mapp hadn't permitted PMUA to become a political toy, we wouldn't be here today. If politicians like Adrian Mapp hadn't acceded to the immediate corruption of the interlocal agreement and engaged with the engineers of that fraud, we wouldn't be here today. This is while also receiving plenty of campaign contributions. 26 years of city council neglect and connivance got us here. And today the mayor is hoping to railroad this dissolution through by keeping people in the dark and relying on the city council's spinelessness. Haste makes waste, as the saying goes. The dissolution ordinance references a section of the local authorities' fiscal control law that clearly begins, notwithstanding any other law to the contrary, and it ends, the provisions of this section and this act shall be supplementary to the powers accorded under any other law. Now, one of those laws, and this is the law under which PMUA was formed, is the Municipal and County Utilities Authority law, which says the Board of Commissioners of a utility authority must consent to its dissolution by resolution. This hasn't occurred, so this evening's agenda should be moot. And I'll also note that the local finance board directors caveat that the scope of the local finance board approval is limited, and there is a process between the governing bodies. So whatever is done, it should be done legally and without the use of the mayor's stormtroopers at the PMUA offices and in the open, so all the public knows what's going on. This has not been the case tonight. No way and no how. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. We appreciate your comments. Are there any more for public comments on resolutions and motions on the ordinance this evening? Ms. Bright, your name and address for the record, please. Good evening.
Good evening, Council President, members of the governing body and administration. You know, it certainly isn't a secret that I'm in opposition of the dissolution of the PMUA for several reasons. I've expressed this on numerous occasions. However, I also understand that it's the mayor's privilege and it's in his power to dissolve the PMUA. On election night in November 2022, when the mayor announced his intention to dissolve the PMUA, he mentioned the reason being the number of calls and complaints he received from residents concerning the lack of service. There's no denying the last 2 years have been challenging for the authority for several reasons, and none of which I'm going to elaborate on in this forum. But 2 points I would like to make. The PMA services over 11,000 residents. I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to say, out of those 11,000 residents and customers, you may have gotten a total of no more than 100 different customer complaints. If this solution is truly based on customer complaints, I urge this council to vote against the ordinance at this time and place these ordinances on the November ballot as a referendum to be decided by the voting public of Plainfield. My last point is, if the PMUA has been a 25-year failed experience, then why would you offer 88 employees? Some of the employees are in management positions with the city, offer them employment with the city, which I'm extremely happy that, you know, they will have jobs come tomorrow because everyone was fired today. People fail, not the entity. So if it's a 25-year failure, I just don't understand why would you be bringing a management team over to the city to do business as usual starting tomorrow. I think that, you know, I realize that this is a done deal. I know that. We all know that. Everyone knows that, you know, everyone in the authority received their pink slip today. I know this is just, you know, going on deaf ears at this point. I know how this works, unfortunately, but I just have to say, you know, the sheer lack of transparency in this transition is extremely disheartening. I'm extremely disappointed, and I have truly expected better from this administration and the council members. I just cannot express how disappointed I am in the way this all played out. And the last speaker, Mr. Goldstein, when he spoke about the statue, MC, I think it's 20, I pulled it up yesterday. It specifies two caveats that have to be met in order to dissolve the authority. And one of them is, the first one is you have to have agreement from the authority.
Council President, the speaker's time is up.
Ms. Bright, thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate it. Nicole Mingo, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Nicole Mingo Horton, 1366 St. Nicholas Boulevard.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mhm.
When you look at the national political landscape, both on the federal level and on the state level, what you see is politicians that have been elected by their constituents, but they are not doing the will of their constituents. And unfortunately, it looks like that is what is going on right here, right now. For something as monumentous as getting rid of the PMUA after it's servicing the residents of not only Plainfield, but it also services residents in other municipalities, without any opportunity for us, the citizens and business owners in Plainfield, to have any type of input, have any type of comment. I don't know of any council person that has held any forums to get feedback from the residents on how they feel about this action. And I think that is a shame, because something like this, you should be finding out how your constituents that elected you feel about this decision. And a lot of times we complain about citizens not being involved, but citizens lose interest in being involved when citizens feel that they are not being heard. And that happens a lot. When I come to council meetings, and I don't come often as I should, and I freely admit that, but when I come, often what I find is that citizens and business owners will speak out vehemently about something they're opposed to, and the vote is held, and it always passes every single time. And it's disappointing. We as the citizens should know what the plan is to replace the PMUA. You also have on the agenda to create a new authority, but you have not communicated anything to us about who is going to provide services for us starting tomorrow. And that also is unfair to us. We deserve the right to be heard. The city council represents the citizens of Plainfield. And what we want, how we feel, should make a difference and should influence how our elected council people vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Mingo. We appreciate your comment. Good evening, Tracy. Your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Tracy Spencer-Wright, 1988 West Broad Street, Scotch Plains. I have worked for the PMA for 7 years. Good evening. I would like to state for the record that as public employees, my co-workers and I have not been afforded due process. We were not given written advance notice nor the opportunity to be heard prior to our discharge from the PMA today. In addition, while the federal WARN, W-A-R-N Act mostly applies to private employers, pursuant to section 639.3, PMA fits into a narrow class of public employers that are also bound by the WARN Act. Even more generous to employees is New Jersey state law. Under section 34.21-2D, premier employees should have been given a 90-day written notice and a week of severance for each year of service. They are also now entitled to additional 4 weeks as proper notice hasn't been given. So in essence, this whole scheme is in violation of both federal and state law. This is a mess, which is a result of the city cutting corners and jamming this dissolution through. I have been cautioned by many that I am wasting my time here tonight. The mayor already has your votes. Today, PMUA's human resources manager told me the PMUA is being dissolved tonight, and the letter I was given also reflects that language. Not may be dissolved, but will be dissolved, hours before the actual vote. We all know what integrity means. We all have heroes that epitomize it, the likes of Turing, Dr. Salk, Mandela. It is the worthiest of attributes. Tonight, I hope you decide to exercise integrity. If you can, in good faith, say that the city has been fully transparent, allowing you to exercise full due diligence, and you have done your homework, and you can confidently offer up a clear explanation of savings to your constituents, then you should vote per your conclusion. However, if you are deficient in any of this, then you owe it to those who are you going to impact by this decision, residents and employees alike, to ask for more time so you can make a measured decision. That is admirable. And as I mentioned, the city has now exposed itself to potential of litigation from its employees. We will be litigating. You need to consider carefully if you are going to be on the right side of this decision. One person's self-serving urgency does not constitute an emergency. You have an off-ramp. This vote can be tabled, allowing you to measure twice and cut once. A monumental decision requires monumental deliberation and a boatload of unbiased data and facts, as in facts, not alternative facts, not to mention adhering to the law, which includes labor law. Request more time, and the only thing that request will make you is a mindful and thoughtful civil servant exercising integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy, for your comments. We appreciate them. Ms. Piwar, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Nancy Pivar, 1129 Myrtle Avenue. I'm not gonna get into the machinations of dissolution or whatever is going on, because whatever gonna happen is gonna happen. I just have some simplistic questions that I would like answers to. One, do I put my can out tonight or do I leave it in my backyard? Two, do I call a private hauler tomorrow and get rates from different private haulers? Can I do that under this plan? And three, once this is done, will the Board of Public Utilities look at it? Because I know the PMUA didn't fall under the Public Utilities Board, but it's just basic questions. Do I put my garbage can out tonight or not? Is it gonna get picked up tomorrow or not? And can I call a private hauler and get estimates for costs like I used to do, my family did 50 years ago? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Piwar. Appreciate your comments. John B., good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, this is actually Sam Takitha Cooper. I'm not sure why it says John B. Having a residence of Post Office Box 2917, Plainfield, New Jersey. I want to, as with others, express my disappointment in the communication and lack of transparency that this has brought on. I myself tried to reach out to a few of you, and you stopped taking our calls, as in the constituents, as in business owners. And that is not in good taste. It's extremely, in my opinion, disrespectful to not return phone calls or communicate effectively. Some of us are business owners. There are seniors, landlords, and tenants that have a right to know what tomorrow will look like. I don't know who to pay my bill to. I don't know when I close on a property, am I supposed to be emailing? Am I going down to the PMUA office? For us to not know this in the final hour as business is still churning for us is definitely a poor representation of what the city has been highlighting to be. You have essentially given many of us a very poor taste as it pertains to doing business with the city. I myself am someone who brings business to the city. I live here, I work here, I have friends and family here. And the phone calls that I have fielded as a result of the non-transparency resolving around the dissolution of the PMUA has been truly too much for me to even fathom happening. People are losing their jobs, they're losing their benefits. We don't know what to do. I can tell you that this is not how the city should be representing itself for us. And I can say that I called, some of you that sit up on high, and I was given a very, in my opinion, placid answer as it pertains to having this meeting held in the public so that you could see the faces of those that you have affected, whether it be employees or the residents or the business owners. I do know that the police were called today to the PMUA building, not allowing those employees who were still gainfully employed up until at least 5 p.m. You denied them access. And when I say you, whoever the powers that be that made that phone call, I'm not here to debate what that was about. I'm just saying that that just hurt the morale of those inside and out. I can tell you that moving forward, I'm asking you to do a much better job via website, Facebook, senior citizen building, on foot. You go door to door when it's time for election. Why not go door to door for other matters? Facebook robocalls, robocalls for the food truck come 15 times a day. There was no robocall in reference to this PMUA or a special meeting. And you have the resources to communicate with us better, and you haven't. So I need you to do better, and I'm demanding it, and I'm holding you all accountable now.
Thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate it. Lisa, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please. You're muted, Lisa.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you. Good
Okay,
evening.
Lisa, I'm sorry, Lisa Casey, 1113 Thornton Avenue, Plainfield. I just want to piggyback what the other commenter said. I was very disappointed in how this was handled. I'm coming from both perspectives, as a former employee and as a resident. As a resident, I feel like I had to find out basically through the PMUA, it's from the Plainfield grapevine, which is a shame. I didn't even know about this meeting until like 2 days ago. With all the social media, with all the technology we have today, as far as Facebook, Instagram, like the previous caller said, going door to door, or even just a regular mailer. We get a newsletter. So I get a newsletter from the mayor telling me about when the pool is going to be open. I couldn't get a newsletter, explaining this situation. I just have some basic questions. Am I still going to get 2 bulk pickups a year? Can I drop stuff off at the transfer station if I need to this weekend, which I was planning to do? Do I put my can out? Tomorrow's my garbage day. Do I put my can out tomorrow? Another question that I have coming from a former employee is, what happens to all my personnel records? Because I worked there for 14 years and that is my reference. So what do I do now? But those are just some basic questions that I have. That's it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate your comments. Cynthia Smith, good evening. How are you? Your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Cynthia Smith, 1038 Central Avenue.
Good evening.
Good evening. The questions I have is mainly pertaining to the employees. We heard that it was going to be 88 employees that were going to keep a job. But now I'm hearing that it's going to be less. I'm also hearing that there are new hires that's getting some of those positions that's going to be starting with the city of Plainfield. I'm also hearing that there's going to be people who's going to need waivers for positions that are not certified. So these are things that play into, because a lot of these employees, I'm assuming some of them will be coming in to our union, at least the clerical positions. We've had no meetings, no sit down, no information on how many, where they're going to be placed, if any current employees will be affected. Those are the things that the employees in City Hall are asking me. So when they say transparency, it's been poor. For at least a minimal stuff, the residents should be made aware, employees should be made aware. So that's going back again to when it was stated that we have that new ordinance where the mayor makes all the decisions. You guys have got to do better. Just like they said, you're elected for a reason. And that reason is to look into the things and make sure that things are done upfront and fair. And I feel for the people that are losing their jobs today. I did hear Council President talk about making sure you retain as many of them as possible, but you need to look closer at that and make sure that they are retaining 88 employees that are there now and not swapping them out with new hires to place friends and things of that nature in those positions and put those people out of work. And that's the only thing I wanted to talk about today.
Thank you, Cynthia Smith. We appreciate your comment. Mrs. Norma Rogers Frank, good evening. How are you?
Hi, good evening, City Council. Norma Rogers Frank, 1208 Watchung Avenue.
Thank you.
Highly disappointed. And since I had to learn about this 2 days ago through, as someone said, the Plainfield Grapevine and Facebook, what happened to all of the communication? My mom, who is a homeowner and does not do social media and who's used to getting the robocalls, that was not done. She only knows about this because I told her 2 nights ago after I learned about it, which is why I'm on this meeting, so I can also relay back to her what she needs to do with her garbage. So someone has said she's on that Friday pickup. What does she do? What do we do with her garbage tomorrow? What do I do moving forward as far as getting this information out to other seniors here in Plainfield? There's a lot of homeowners that were not aware as I started my own phone calls Tuesday night once I learned about this. I'm highly disappointed in the way that this is being handled, how undercover, and the more I'm listening to the calls, there's more details that I don't even know. So I found this very interesting in the details that I'm hearing about the employees losing their jobs, about those that weren't let back in the building today. You guys have got to do better, and we expect better. We truly expect better. Thank you.
Council President, I just want to note there's time for 2 more speakers. And you're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Appreciate that. Alexis Nicole Osterhout, your name and address for the record, please. I hope I didn't butcher your name. I apologize if I did.
No problem. It's Osterhout. Yes. And thank you. Good evening, City Council of Plainfield. My address is 209 4th Street, Middlesex, New Jersey. I'm a former resident of 81 Laramie Road, Plainfield, New Jersey for over 13 years. I have a question and I guess a kudos. My question is, what can I do to help? Are there any volunteer opportunities for the city of Plainfield? And kudos to you all for the work that you've done. And thank you for waiving the city of Plainfield job requirement. Well, excuse me, city of Plainfield residency requirement. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westry Rogers. We appreciate, I'm sorry. I got the names mixed up. Alexis, thank you so much. We have one more. Ms. Pam Wesley Rogers, good evening. Thank you for waiting so patiently. Your name and address for the record, please. You're on mute, Ms. Rogers.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to speak.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you for joining us. We have one more call. Mr. Stroud, your name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, Councilman. I apologize.
Okay. Motion close public comment.
So moved. Okay.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you. Before we move further, I think it will be only appropriate if we hear from members of the administration, and I'm I'm guessing that Director Dabney, BA Levinson, and also Mr. Michello may want to chime in on the influx of the comments and questions that were displayed on this evening. Who would like to go first?
I'll speak.
Go ahead,
So,
BA Levinson.
hi, everybody. So there were a couple of practical questions about what to do with your trash tomorrow, about if you wanted to go to the transfer station. It is business as usual in terms of your services. Put your trash out tomorrow, go to the transfer station as needed. We have all services up and running. There will be no disruption of services. We've been gearing up for this and we're ready. We're ready to do this tomorrow. So please spread the word to put your trash cans out. You know, I would hate for someone to not put their trash cans out because they don't know what's happening. So that we're going to be taking business as usual, and there will be robocalls going out later this evening about that. So we will be informing residents as well. There were a couple of questions that were really HR related, and I would encourage people to reach out to Lana Cardin, who is the HR person from the PMUA, and is available to answer a lot of those questions that were really personnel matters. And in terms of, I think that's it. I mean, it sounds like the main thing that everyone wants to know is what are we doing when we wake up tomorrow? And you're doing exactly what you do now. We just anticipate that it's going to be much more efficient.
Repeat that last line again, Abby.
We anticipate that the service and the utility will be much more efficient. Oh, there also was one question about bill paying. So you'll receive your bill, I believe it's coming in July, I don't want to say July 9th if I'm wrong, but it's early July that you're going to get your Q3 bill. So you're going to pay that bill as normal. That bill will come with an insert explaining what's going on, why you're getting this bill on PMUA letterhead when the PMUA has been dissolved. We didn't have time to, after this, print it. And that bill insert will explain exactly what you're doing with paying your bills, and all the instructions will be in there for you. So I appreciate people looking to pay their bill on time, and you will have all the instructions when you receive your bill.
Director Dabney? Would you like to chime in? No? Okay. All right. Corporation Counsel.
No, I think that's it, Council President. We're ready to proceed.
Okay. Thank you. So now we move on to public hearing for the calendar year 2022 budget amendments. The floor is now open for public hearing on 2022 budget amendments only as it was advertised. Public comment is now open. Seeing that there is none, motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Public hearing for the calendar year 2022 budget amendments is closed. Consideration of public hearing, second reading and final passage. Clerk, would you read MC 2022-21, title, and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements?
Yes, Council President, MC 2022-1, an ordinance dissolving the Plainfield Municipal Utilities Authority. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on June 17th, 2022.
Floor is now open to anyone, a member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Bridget, your name and address for the record, please.
Bridget Rivers, 346 Hunter Avenue.
Good evening.
Good evening. How's everyone? I hope everyone is good today. I'm calling to speak on behalf of the resolution. First of all, I want to come this way. I want to thank
It would be an ordinance.
I mean, the ordinance, whatever it
Ms.
is. I
Rivers.
want to thank everyone that saved the little people. At the end of the day, they were the ones that was out there through Superstorm Sandy, through COVID, through all the storms to pick up garbage and make sure that this happened. So it's finally great to see the little people being recognized and being able to keep their job. And as everyone know, I fight for them. My next question is, and I know I have to get all my questions in now, what is the next steps? What do the city gain from this by dissolving the, going to continue to work as PMUA, or is it going to be under the umbrella of the city? And I know I have to wait to get my questions answered, and I hope that I get my questions answered before the night is over. But again, I am here to speak out for the little people. And I am grateful and I am ecstatic that they are finally being recognized and that they finally will get what they deserve. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Rivers. We appreciate you. Have a good night. Ms. Bright, your name and address again for the record, please.
I'm still at 1282 Marion Avenue. And again, good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
So I have a question on this particular resolution pertaining to the sewer portion of the authority. Currently, with every project or construction site that goes up in the city of Plainfield, there's a connection fee that is charged to the developer and due to the authority. So my question would be, will that connection, we will put that money, the authority would normally put that money into an R&R and have it reserved for sewer line maintenance, which is, with all this new development, it's definitely going to need a lot of maintenance. As we all know, the sewer system is over 100 years old. And when we start building apartment buildings and parking lots and tapping into the system, it's going to cost. So, my question is, where is that money still going to be reserved for that purpose? And will that be reflected in upcoming budgets or on the new budgets, next year's budget, or would it be reflected in, I haven't seen the revision of the current budget, but I'm wondering if it was reflected in the current budget, because we had over $2.5 million that was payable by the development that already was completed in connection fees. So I was just wondering if that money is reflected in this year's budget, and if not, would it be reflected in next year's budget? And will connection fees to developers be reflected in every year budget going forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bright.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cooper, your name and address once again for the record.
I didn't have my hand up, but I'll be happy to speak. Stamps Keitha Cooper, Post Office Box 2917, Plainfield, New Jersey. Since I'm here, I will say to you, to the council, to yourself as president, this is pertaining to this ordinance, but I just need a little bit of housekeeping here for a second. You are asking us, we're getting an additional moment to speak based on each ordinance or resolution that's being read. However, and I am not questioning you, I am simply making a statement. It would be nice if you could give a person at least 5 seconds to get to the click portion to raise their hand. There are people who are unfamiliar with the process of how Zoom works. They may be on their cell phones. So when you open up the floor, if you could just please allow us a few seconds before you close it, because I actually had a question for the budget portion, which I will not go back to. which had to do with the tax assessment. And my question that I was going to have for the next ordinance was in reference again to how do we go about, as a business owner myself, how do I go about, or as a homeowner, submitting new documentation once a property changes hands and ownership? It's the end of the month, and there are a lot of properties.
Council President, the speaker is out of order. We're having a very specific public hearing with regard to dissolution, and all comments have to be specific to this ordinance on second reading. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Michello. Mrs. Cooper?
Mm-hmm.
We would have to just stay on this particular ordinance.
Again, I didn't even have my hand up, so I'm not why it was shown. So I said that in the beginning.
Yeah, it was shown, so we acknowledged it.
No, I appreciate it.
Must have been
Thank
a
you.
technical area. Thank you. Ms. Mingle Horton, again, your name and address for the record. Thank you so much.
Nicole Mingo Horton, 1366 St. Nicholas Boulevard. I just wanted to have it officially on the record that I personally, as a resident of Plainfield, am opposed to this ordinance passing at this time. I feel that this ordinance should be tabled until such time that the residents of the city can receive more information about the reasons why this is happening and how we as Plainfield residents and business owners are going to benefit by the city taking over the responsibilities and duties of the PMUA. So I just wanted that to be officially on the record. I, as a resident, object to you carrying this ordinance at this time.
Ms. Mingo Horton, thank you so much. Appreciate your comments. Lisa, your name and address for the record, please. Good evening.
Good evening, Lisa Casey again, 1113 Thornton Avenue. I just have one other couple other quick questions or comments. Once this dissolution vote happens and you pass it, because like everyone said, it's already going to happen, what happens to that PMA budget that was voted on for the beginning of the year? What happens to that revenue? What happens to those assets? I mean, we're talking, and then what happens with sewer, the sewer department? If you have a pool, you're trying to fill your pool up, you get the meter. Like everybody's saying business as usual, and that's fine, but how do we know it's business as usual when we haven't been notified of anything? We weren't even notified of dissolution. So just a couple of financial questions that I had. That's the end of my comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Motion to close public comment on this ordinance. I need a motion.
So moved.
I will second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Michello or Ms. B.A. Levinson, would you like to weigh in on those questions and concerns?
I could weigh in on some of them. I wrote down some notes. I want to clarify that the contracts that the PMUA had in other municipalities for trash collection have been closed. Those contracts will no longer exist. And other towns will be able to dump at our transfer station. That's a source of revenue. But in terms of pickup in other towns, that won't be happening. I heard a comment about the budget, and you'll see in this agenda that we are voting on adding a sewer utility and a solid waste utility, which will be essentially movements from the current PMUA 2022 budget into under the city umbrella. These utilities will be self-sustaining. And so all of that budget will be moving into here. There's a few contingencies that the local finance board had asked us to make when we were granted approval for the dissolution. One was moving $1.5 million from the sewer utility and $1.5 million from the solid waste utility, so that we can make sure that we can cover all the PMUA liabilities and everything. But we've gone through all the financial analyses multiple times, and we know that we have, we're going to be able to, I'm sorry, it's very distracting when a councilman is shaking his head at me, so it makes me lose my train of thought. But we know that we are going to be able to assume all of their liabilities, all of their debts, and we anticipate still to be very, very strong financially. Director West, is there anything that you wanted to add to that?
The only thing that I would tell you is that as a part of the dissolution, all of the debts will be paid off. So, and the 1.5 million that has to be set aside for both the sewer and solid waste pickups is, as you indicated, it's there more as contingency funds and is something insisted upon by the state. But yeah, all debts will be dissolved or taken care of before July ends is the current plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michello, would you like to chime in, or there's no need?
Well, thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
You don't have questions from the people voting on it? No, we don't do that.
Does anyone have any questions?
There we go.
Council President, Councilman McKenna could go first because he was eager to ask his questions.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilman. All right, Council President, I do have a question. So BA Levinson, you said that it's business as usual in terms of the functions and the operations. So that leads me to ask, if it's business as usual, then why is it necessary to dissolve the PMUA? So go ahead, Mayor.
Yes, Council President, with your permission, I would like to respond to Councilor Davis's question.
Yes.
And I intended to address that comment made by the business administrator, which I know she didn't mean it as some people might interpret it. I think she simply meant that garbage will be picked up tomorrow as usual. Some people ask, what am I going to do about my garbage tomorrow? Should I put out my can? And I think that's what she was referring to. But, more broadly speaking, it will definitely not be business as usual. I can tell you that the operation will be more efficient and effective, and service will be greatly improved. Costs will eventually go down, making it more affordable to our property owners that have been pleading for relief from the high rates that have been charged by the PMUA over the years. Bulk pickups would be more frequent. Currently, people have to wait for 3 months before they can be scheduled. We have a plan for enhanced how people are able to dispose of their bulk waste, and all of that would be put into effect. There will be no breaks in service. The comment about business as usual simply means we will pick up garbage, as we are supposed to. And all of that will be handled by the city of Plainfield. It would continue to be handled in-house. We have made the decision after looking at all of the factors that it's best for us to keep it in-house as opposed to outsource it to a third party. And so the focus will be on Plainfield. For too long, service was provided to neighboring municipalities at a significant cost in terms of the level of service to the residents of Plainfield. That will come to an end. We will no longer provide services to neighboring municipalities. However, we will continue to allow any municipality who wants to dispose of items at our transfer station. We will continue to allow that because we will generate revenue from that. But we will not go to neighboring municipalities to pick up recyclables, to pick up solid waste. That will come to an end. So, largely or broadly speaking, service levels will significantly improve and costs will be more effective. And I predict that our residents, our ratepayers, our businesses will come back to the city of Plainfield for the service that they fled over the last several years from the PMUA, they will come back. And so I pledge to you, service levels will improve, costs will eventually go down, and I predict that our ratepayers are going to be very pleased once the council votes to dissolve the PMUA later this evening.
Councilwoman Davis, is that satisfactory for you at this time?
So I do have some follow-up questions. I do thank the mayor for that answer. I think that multiple things can be true at the same time, with one of those things being that the PMUA was a thorn in the side, not only to this administration and to this council, but to residents with their service failures, especially in the last year or so. But I also think that what is also true is that we make the decisions the best that I can speak for myself. I make decisions based off of the information that I have at the time, hoping that that is the best decision with the information that I have at the time. And when we passed this ordinance the first time, it passed unanimously, I believe, with all of the council members, including myself, voting yes, because we had information at the time that made me comfortable to vote yes. And even in the public session, I even mentioned that maybe we can give a little bit more meat on the bone to the public to help ease their concerns. But as we have gone further down this road, I have the same concerns that residents have about what's going to happen. So I hear the mayor saying that great things are going to happen and eventually rates are going to go down and eventually service is going to get better. And I'm glad to hear that. But what is also true in this moment is a lot of people are concerned about what comes next, what comes after today. And I'm not sure that's been clearly communicated to the residents, to the council, about what this new thing looks like once the PMUA is dissolved.
And that is a fair assessment, but I can tell you that we have the plans in place. We will be communicating to our residents once this dissolution occurs, but the plans are in place and the residents will know exactly what to expect from the city of Plainfield as far as solid waste and sewer are concerned. We didn't want to put the cart before the horse, and with the approval, as long as the council on second reading ratifies this ordinance, which would put the dissolution into effect, the city will immediately proceed with expanding the services to our residents at a more cost-effective price, and the residents will be communicated with on a regular basis. They will know exactly what will be happening with their garbage, with their sewer services. And once this ordinance is adopted on second reading, a button will be pressed to send a message out to all of our residents. But we need to make sure that we are not putting the cart before the horse.
So I'm happy to hear that, because I think sometimes some of our differences, because we've had our differences in the past, come before them. Sometimes it feels like the cart is coming before the horse, but I'm glad to know. And hopefully the 88 residents that are on this call, I know for myself, for the time that I'm here on the council, I'm going to hold you to it, Mayor, because I believe what you're saying, that it's going to be communications to the residents, is going to be better communicated what's going on. And I hope that it stays like that. And for the next 6 months, while we shape this out and while we work through it together, right? Because this is not just an administration problem, right? This is also a council problem. I'm going to hold you to it, that there's going to be better communication. There's going to be better service for the residents. Because I know, especially in the first ward, because we have the downtown area, it's been neglected when it comes to trash pickup, the train stations, the downtown area, actual pickup from residents' homes. So I'm glad to hear that. And I wait to see what this brings.
It will be significantly better. I promise you that.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on the second reading and final passage.
Actually,
Excuse me, Councilman McKenna?
I have a comment. Are we still doing council comments, or you just want us to vote?
Oh, you didn't say you had a comment.
You didn't ask if anybody had any more, so I jumped in.
Okay, go right ahead, Councilman.
Okay. So, I just want to make a comment that for a long time I've been in favor of dissolving PMUA. Have not been a fan. I don't think it's lived up to what it aspired to be, and that is no reflection on the frontline workers, because many of them have been working very hard over the years to provide the service. I will say that, you know, my view of this is that the administration managed to pull defeat from the jaws of victory here in a process that is just a mess. You know, obviously we've been going down this path to dissolve the PMUA. We started in May. So we've been going down this path. We've been having these conversations. The PMUA treated their frontline workers that are being let go horribly with the communication. Leadership there is really lacking. It's embarrassing the way they treated them. And I'm sorry to them for that. But we're not sharing anything with the citizens. I mean, these are people that have had nothing but problems with garbage collection. We're not recycling, even though they're separating things. They're paying a fortune for this. They're now at the end of today is the last day of their second quarter with PMUA, so they'll get their last PMUA bill. They don't know what they're going to be charged going forward. We don't know what they're going to be charged going forward. Have we done a rate ordinance? Is there a rate for this? How is this going to happen? People that have Grand, are they going to be able to keep Grand? Can people that use PMUA now shift over to Grand or some other service? There's no communication about this at all. And the fact that we're going to dissolve this today, which, by the way, I'm in favor of dissolving PMUA. And then I think the mayor said he's going to push a button or something, and all this magic communication is going to happen. If it's robocalls, you can keep those. Those just annoy the hell out of people, and they don't provide any information other than put your garbage out tomorrow and go to the city website and check for whatever is going to be up there. It's not even going to be accurate. So I'm also curious as to why in a local finance meeting, when I look at the transcript, they asked that we set aside 1.5 million each for sewer and solid waste, and we committed to doing it at the time of the second reading. The way I read Mr. McDonough's comment to them was, we will make it happen at the moment of the second reading. I don't see that. I don't see a rate. I don't see a rate ordinance. I don't see the 1.5 million in sewer and solid waste set aside for capital reserve into an account. I don't see any of this. So none of us on this board, council, have any information other than spread the word. There's 100 and what are we up to now? 100 and I don't know, 8 people on here, and we are 108 people on 52,000. And the city administrator said, spread the word, put your garbage can out tomorrow. This is the biggest joke I've ever seen. You literally took a great thing and screwed it up. The first thing you do with these, with a merger and acquisition, is have your communications team in place and have a project plan for that. You haven't done anything. And you've got Mr. Dabney, who's supposed to be in charge of this utility, and he didn't even want to weigh in earlier. So I'm embarrassed by this, and I'm sorry that the residents are going to have to go through this, because I don't think you have a plan other than pushing a button shortly. I guess there's confetti or something that goes on. And in the meantime, residents have no clue what is happening. No, we have no clue what the reduction in rate is, other than it's going to be somewhere, according to local finance board presentation, of 8 and 10%. Okay, maybe not. So I'm embarrassed by this whole thing, and I think it's been handled really poorly. And I think it's been handled poorly on the side of the PMUA with respect to the leadership there and how they treated those employees and the lack of communication over there. And if they sue, I hope they sue the hell out of them, because they should. This isn't complicated stuff, and it is difficult to do with employees, but you can do it the right way, and you can do it the legal way, and you can do it the humane way. And we did not do that. And I think it's an embarrassment, especially because most of us all here, I think we're all Democrats, we're pro-union, they're all union. We ought to be stepping up for our fellow humans and our fellow union members. And so I'm just going to end by saying that you all took a great opportunity and have kind of screwed it up. Thank you.
Council colleagues, anyone else?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Go right ahead, Councilman Hockaday.
I do also believe that this is a great opportunity for the city in dissolving the PMUA. And speaking with many residents, I've gotten scores of complaints, especially during our disastrous events. But the quality control, the customer service and so forth from PMUA has been something that for many, many years and months, residents have been searching for a solution. So I'm happy that the administration has stepped up to the plate to begin to provide a permanent solution for better service and decreased costs. I can't disagree that, I just listening to some of the people that call indicating that they don't have all the facts. That is concerning because, I want, as much as an opportunity as this is to provide a better service, I want people to feel like they're a part of the process, although, our individuals aren't, many of them are professionals in how to transition this type of complex transaction. So, but at the same time, I think there's still plenty of opportunity for the administration to communicate regarding how much people are going to save, how they pay their bills and everything. But the fact is it is not done yet because we've not yet voted on it. So I'm sure there's a certain communication that's just not going to be had until till this is done. But the people that I talk to, I know that there are folks on this call that are in opposition to it, and I certainly am listening to everybody's concerns with open ears. But there's an equal amount of people, if not more, that express the opposite view, just don't happen to be on this call now. But I know that they're out there and they're clamoring for a better solution. And I think the city would be well served to have all of our folks in our city picking up, beautifying our city, picking up our waste rather than spread out through different towns, spreading us thin and not providing an optimal service to the city of Plainfield. We deserve a dedicated task force to make Plainfield beautiful. The last thing I'll say is, the main thing one of the main things I look at with this transition is just the fact that we know that PMUA is an organization that has given many people second chances at employment. Many Plainfield residents and I've seen some of them don't live in Plainfield anymore. There's a mix, but still we want to be able to give people second chances. And I'm hopeful, and I'm also going to be hold the administration accountable to make sure that they continue that tradition so that they're continually hiring people and giving second chances to folks, because that's just a part of our duty. And I know that that much of that will continue. I'm glad that we're bringing folks over. I'm glad that many folks that are being brought over, their salaries are increasing. All, if not most of them are increasing salaries. They're also have civil service protections. For many of the PMUA employees, this is a good thing for them. And we think that with a happy workforce, a more satisfied workforce, we'll have better service for the city of Plainfield. So this is a difficult issue. It's a contentious issue, and I see emotions, getting intense on it, and it's understandable because it is a monumental decision, but we'll, I think it's going in the right direction, and that's why I'm gonna likely vote for it.
Thank you, Councilman Hockaday. B.A. Levinson, the second chance policy that was in place with the PMUA, I personally would like to know, will that still be intact?
Yes, so the PMUA employees that we brought over, we did not look at, if they were second chance or not. We brought them over based on work performance, based on their work history with the PMUA. If they're doing good, we want to have them, and we will continue absolutely to hire as second chance, and we will also continue to hire only residents. That's something that Councilman Hockaday brought up, is that some of the employees from the PMUA are not residents. Obviously, we have a residency requirement, and when these jobs become posted with the city of Plainfield, we will only be hiring residents, and we will be hiring second chance employees.
And of course, Mayor, you are in favor of this as well. Please comment on that, please.
Well, thank you, Council President. I must tell you and tell all of the people who are listening to us this evening that the city of Plainfield, this administration, we don't look at the mistakes that people have made in their lives. We've all made mistakes. And several years ago, we passed legislation known as Ban the Box, where we will not, in any form or fashion, use a person's history in terms of the legal system against that person, whether we're talking about current PMUA employees or future employees coming to the city. The fact that you have made a mistake should not follow you for the rest of your life, and we will give everyone the chance that he or she deserves.
Thank you, Mayor. B. Levinson, thank you so much, as well as Councilman Hockaday. And
Council President, I have a follow-up question.
sure, follow up.
Yes, so BA Levinson and the mayor spoke about giving employees second chances. How that work with civil service rules, since we are a civil service town?
Well, I'm sure that BA Levinson might have a response to that, but I do believe that even at the state level, that the state might have passed the Ban the Box legislation as well. So it doesn't matter to me as mayor, whether a person spent 5 years in jail, 6 years in jail, it doesn't matter to me. As long as he or she has cleaned up his or her act and is willing to become a normal contributing citizen to this society that we live in, that's all that matters. The fact that you made a mistake and you spent some time in prison doesn't matter to me or to this administration. We will hire you if you're deserving of that opportunity, and if you can get the job done. That's what matters to us.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, there's nothing in civil service that would preclude us from offering a job to somebody who, you know, is a second chance employee.
Some of the best people in this society that have contributed in significant ways, Malcolm X comes to mind, have spent time in prison. And so that ought not to be used as a barometer to decide or to determine whether or not a person is going to be able to get an opportunity to provide for his or her family and to become a normal, regular, contributing citizen to Plainfield and to this society at large. I hope that answers your question, Councilor.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Mayor and colleagues and the rest of the administration for that input. I see no reason for me to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on its second reading and final passage. Of course, if it's adopted, the ordinance will be published and required by law, as required.
Are you saying you don't see a need, or are you saying you see a need?
I am asking for a motion.
Oh.
All right.
You heard you now.
There.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call.
I'm sorry. Mr. Clark, may I have a roll call, please?
Roll call on MC 2022-21. Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna. McKenna,
No.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed. This ordinance is adopted. Final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2022-22, titled and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all the statutory publication requirements.
MC 2022-22 is an ordinance creating a sewer utility and a solid waste utility. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on June 17th, 2022.
The floor is now open to anyone and any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. Each speaker, again, will be limited to 3 minutes. The floor is now open. There being none, back to Ms. Cooper. Your name and address again for the record, please.
Yes, Samsa Cooper, Post Office Box 2917, Plainfield, New Jersey. Hopefully, I will speak in turn and based on what needs to be addressed during this resolution. I am again asking, since this is the sewer bill portion, what do we do as a new owner? Transfer of ownership. Again, it is the end of the month and there is a lot of business that has been transacted. I myself can say that I have things that need to be addressed. How does that work? And I understand that you are putting things into resolution tonight, that you are passing things. I'm simply asking, simply as you all have said about there's going to be a button pushed and there are going to be notifications sent out. There is going to be a communication made regarding stuff. I'm simply wanting to have some information so that the platform that I have, which is one that enabled those who were on this call tonight to know about what was going on because they hadn't been informed duly. What can I share? Can you share something with me or give me some idea or tell me a website to go to so that I can be in compliance, so that you can continue to gain revenue and things can be put in place accordingly. Hopefully, this is the proper time and forum for this inquiry. That's all I have.
Thank you for your comment. Ms. Stevens, again, your name and address for the record. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Lisa Stevens, 717 Berkeley Avenue. I have a question about where the utility will fall on the city's organization chart. I'm assuming it'll be under finance, but will a new department be created, a new division? Will a new department head be hired? And how will in staffing? So that's my question. Where will this fall under the city's organizational chart? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Mr. Goldstein, your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. Again, Alan Goldstein, 939 Madison Avenue. I have a question now that you're going to have a solid waste utility here. The shared system service fee that was being paid to the PMUA was a fairly significant bite. And that went to public, maintaining public properties, city-owned properties. So and I know that the amount that the city was paying to PMUA was not, did not cover that amount of their cost. So you went after the ratepayers. So now that this is going to be merged, is the city going to pay its fair share, or are you going to still go after whoever gets billed? And another question might be, what would be the annual expense for both of these utilities as far as pension payments that may be currently due and due in the coming years? And that is it. That's my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. Lisa, your name and address again for the record.
Lisa Casey, 1113 Thornton Avenue, Plainfield. I want to piggyback off what Mr. Goldstein said. I have a question about that too. Will my rate be recalculated now that the city is taking over? The mayor had made a statement that the service will be better, it'll be cheaper, blah, blah, blah. But as Alan said, now that it's back under the city, where's the shared service portion of the bill come into play in my rate? And like Alan also said, how's the pension payments affect the city? Is it going to be more debt for the city? Is it more expense for the city? Now that you've taken on 88 new employees, you have to pay you're paying their pension, you're paying their share of their pension. So where does that come into play? That's my only question for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate you. Ms. Bright.
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Still at the same address, Ms. Bright? Okay.
Still at the same address.
Okay, thank you.
Question, and maybe Ms. B.A. Levinson could address this. I believe it was already asked, but no one answered it. So if someone wanted to opt out, is there still the ability to opt out, or will we be forced to use the services provided by the city? I think that's extremely important. You know, people have always had the option, if they chose not to use the Plainfield MUA, they could opt out. And I'm wondering if that's still going to be, and since that the city is taking over and you opt out, would you still be charged a shared service fee along with the sewer fee? I know you're still gonna have to pay the sewer portion, but would you be charged a shared service fee? I just hope that you know, although I am in opposition of the dissolution, I sincerely hope that the service is improved, and that which I have no doubt that it will be now, but that the cost goes down, because now I don't see how it's going to be a cost savings when you moved over 88 employees at the same pay rate, and I know all their pay rates, and the only real savings you'll realize is with the elimination of the commissioners and stipend that they received, which is small in comparison, and the services of the engineers and the legal fees, the professional services. I'm getting a little punchy now. Those services are still going to be needed. All of those services are still going to be needed. Although you will eliminate the engineers and the attorneys that the authority currently have, those responsibilities are going to follow the city, and they're still going to be needed, which means you're going to be adding more work or job responsibilities onto the current attorneys and the current engineers, especially in the sewer portion. So I don't see a cost saving there either. You cannot add more responsibility to the professional services and not compensate them. We know that's just not possible. So I don't realize the cost saving. I hear the mayor when he said that the services will improve and that the fee eventually will come down. What is eventually?
I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk, were you speaking, or you said her time is up?
Speaker's time is up.
All right, thank you, Ms. Bright. We appreciate your comments. Ms. Mingle Horton.
Good
You're
evening
up.
again.
You're up.
1366 St. Nicholas Boulevard.
Thank you.
So now that the dissolution is done, I just have questions. I know the mayor said that he's gonna, you're gonna push a button, send a communication out. to the residents. It wasn't indicated if that button is going to generate a robocall or if it's going to generate an email. If it's not an email, I'm hoping that we will get very shortly information on whether or not our rates are going to change. If so, what the new rates will be, how that billing will be done. Will we be paying this new authority? Will they be billing us separately as the PMUA was, or if this is going to be rolled into our tax bill, which would then affect our mortgage payments, how we can go about scheduling bulk pickups, what phone numbers we should call, where we should go if we have questions or concerns or anything of that nature. What I'm saying is, now that it's done, we really need that information expeditiously. And that will cut down on, I guess, the sour feeling that we as residents have about not knowing about this as quickly as we should have and not having the information. So I think those are very important things. I too am concerned about, who we're paying, how we're paying, and where those payments will be sent, how those bills will be given to us. All of that is extremely important, especially if it's something that's going to get rolled into a tax bill, which would then go into a mortgage payment, because that greatly affects monthly budgeting. So I hope that that information is coming as quickly as whatever's coming after this meeting is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mingo Horton. Mr. Wyatt, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening. Richard Wyatt, 1038 Central Avenue. All right. Transparency promotes accountability by providing the public with information about what the governing body is doing. That's not happening here. It was stated by the BA that you all are ready to go tomorrow as business as usual. The mayor attempted to clarify and ended it with a promise. We've heard many of empty promises. That would be okay if you all had the public trust. However, listening to the comments, it's obvious that you don't. Where was the presentation on what the next steps are? How can you vote on something that you were not properly informed about? Why couldn't the public hear the proposals? Watch you all have civil discourse, talk to their representatives, and then watch you come to a meeting and make an informed and inclusive decision. This lacks trust, and as usual, it appears that with the city council and the administration, it's business as usual. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wyatt. I appreciate your comments. Ms. Piwar, good evening again. Again,
Yeah,
your name and
good
address for
evening.
the record again,
Yeah,
please.
good evening. Nancy Piwar, 1129 Myrtle Avenue. First of all, I appreciate this discussion so that some of us can get some answers. And I don't want to be out of order, but somebody just texted me and they wanted to know if this is going to include side yard pickup as it used to be about 50 years ago, or will we still have to roll the cans to the front? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Piwar. As always, we appreciate your comments. Being that there are no more, motion to close public comment. Jen, is it okay for me to assume that that's Jen Popper? Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir, it is correct. Jennifer Popper, 816 Dixie Lane. Based on the mayor's comments about eventually realizing savings, is there a timeline that you can pinpoint as to when residents can realize these savings? And also, this might be related to, I think it was Ms. Mingo, I forget the name, Nicole Mingo. She said something about rolling it into the mortgage costs. Will residents be able to write these costs off on their taxes now? That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Popper, for your comments. We appreciate it. There being any more, I'd like a motion to close public comment on this particular ordinance.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Council colleagues, would you like to chime in on this particular ordinance?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
So a number of residents have asked this question. I think this is an important question to be answered. BA Levinson alluded to it earlier when she said that ratepayers will get a letter with their next bill or something about how to pay it. Can you elaborate on that on this meeting today about what that will look like and how residents will pay the next rate? Is it paid through their taxes? Is it paid through a fee to the utility? Can you just explain that more?
BA Levinson is Councilwoman Davis question. After you answered that, I am assuming that you have been taking notes for the other questions of those. Okay, so we just want to make sure that everyone's questions are answered. Will you answer Councilwoman Davis's question first? And I believe the mayor has some comments too as well.
I think I'm going to ask the mayor to speak because I think he has something he wants to speak
Mr.
to.
Mayor?
Note that a couple of the ordinance that is also on the agenda for this evening, the creation of solid waste and sewer utilities as required by the dissolution application that was approved by the local finance board, requiring us to set aside $1.5 million in the sewer and 1.5 in the solid waste utilities for budget purposes. Utilities are not deducted on your taxes. The bills for solid waste and sewer will be a separate bill from your property tax bill. Utilities cannot be folded into your tax bill. It's separate, it's a pay for service. And that's what the utility for both solid waste and sewer will entail, but it will not become a part of your property tax bill. Your property tax bill will continue to be separate. Your utility bill, like your PSE&G bill, like your American Water, will be separate and you will pay for the service that you use. I know there were some other questions. Councilor Davis, was that all? Was there something else? I want to make sure I respond and I answer all of the questions that are being raised.
That was the first question I had. I did have some follow-up questions as well. So can you just clarify, like I know who the sewer utility is going to report to, but can you just clarify for the public, like who the sewer utility is going to report to in terms of like city department, so residents know if they have a problem, like who they can address that problem with?
And I believe someone had already asked that question as well.
And a part of the message that went out, I believe, a short while ago, and that will go out as an insert in the bills, will let people know how the utilities will operate. But I can tell you that Mr. Oren Dabney, who is the director of DPW, the solid waste and sewer will fall under his umbrella. All of you know John Louise and you know his capabilities. John Louise will be elevated and will have additional responsibilities for the solid waste in terms of supervisory responsibilities and will be a deputy director with specific responsibility for the solid waste side of the utilities. So in terms of the reporting structure, John Louise has been placed as a buffer between a superintendent that will be at the transfer station and Mr. Dabney, who is the director of DPW. So we are confident that with the restructuring of the reporting, the realignment of some of the positions, that it will bring a more effective and efficient operation. And I hope that answers your question in some way.
that did answer my question. I had another question, but I lost it. So I'm okay with deferring to you or BA Levinson to address some of the comments from the public.
And with the council's permission, I am here, BA Levinson is here, members from the administration, we are here. And for as long as it takes for us to provide responses to the questions and the concerns that people have this evening, I'm willing to do that. There will be other means of communication to provide additional information to members of the public.
BA Levinson, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, there were a couple other notes that I had taken. One most recently was, are you gonna have to continue to roll your cans out? Yes, please do. We're not rolling back 50 years. We're gonna keep them, you're gonna keep bringing them out. And then the mayor talked about a bunch of these. You will still have the opportunity to opt out of service. So that was a question that's come up a couple of times. That opportunity will still be available to you.
Real quick, Council President,
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
The side yard thing is not from 50 years ago. It sounds like 50 years ago, and Nancy referenced that. They actually do that now. You pay extra for that at PMUA. When you guys did your due diligence, you probably realized they actually do side yard.
So I'm not responding to the councilman. I'm just going to add on to what Bill Levinson said. We're going to be inheriting the rules and the regulations from the PMUA. We will go through those, and we will amend the rules and regs, and our ratepayers will know what those regs will look like after we've had an opportunity to go through them, now that we are in charge and it is now the city's responsibility. So we will be re-examining all of the rules and regs that are currently in place, and we will make the changes that are necessary in order to enhance the level of service.
Thank you. Any other questions, council?
Yes, thank you for the mayor saying that. That brought my next question, comment back into my head. So the mayor said that we're going to inherit the rules of the PMUA, and I get that this is going to be brand new. My concern is that we're supposed to be making it better. We're supposed to be making it more efficient. We're creating this new entity. And when we call something a failed experiment, when we talk about experiments, you have to change different variables in order to see what works with the experiment. But right now, it's sounding like it's going to be the same thing, just under a different name. And I think that's very concerning when residents complain that they want something new, right? Residents have been saying for at least the last year, longer than that, they want something new. They want something better than the PMUA. And to hear that we're going to still operate under their rules and regulations is a cause for concern. And I hear that you're saying that eventually it's going to get better. But once again, multiple things can be true at the same time. And I think that's concerning. I think that's a legitimate concern and fear that residents have, that even just for a little bit while it's under the city, right, we're promising big things to happen, but we're saying that we're going to follow the PMUA rules and regulations, which got us to this place to begin with.
So I believe, Mr. Mayor, I believe when you say inherit, of course, that could mean a whole lot.
So I should respond to that,
Yes,
Council
yes.
President and Councilor Davis. As you know, it is as of your vote a few minutes ago that we became responsible. And so we will take what we have inherited and we will significantly improve what we have inherited. We could not have done that a month ago, 2 months ago. We now have the authority, because you have given that to us, to make the changes that are required, that are necessary, and that the residents want, and we will do that. And
that sounds a lot better than the other one. Making it better.
That what the mayor is saying is that we're in an assessment phase. We took this 10 minutes ago. So let us assess. Maybe there's some things we are going to keep and some we're going to change. But we have to have the opportunity to be in the assessment phase.
Yeah, let us do what you expect us to do.
Right.
So I want to push back.
Councilwoman Davis, go ahead.
Yes, I want to push back just a little bit, right? Because I hear what you're saying, but also there was a transition team in effect, right? And once again, multiple things could be true at the same time. And I think that the people who were on the transition team, including Director Dabney, are experts in this field, right? So I trust that they know what they're doing in terms of waste management, in terms of getting the city a running start, right? But yeah, we just took over 10 minutes ago, but there was a transition team in place. So now I'm wondering, what was the transition team doing to get us to this place other than crunching the numbers?
To make sure that the operation is smooth and that the transition is one that will see us pick up the garbage, provide the sewer services in a much more enhanced and improved fashion. But now that we have the rules and regs, we're going to go through those rules and regs, and we're going to fix what is broken and make it better. So the transition team had been working on ensuring there's a smooth transition that will result in us picking up the garbage without the city looking a mess and cleaning up across the city that so many of us have complained about over the years. That's the operational side of things, but we have to do a lot in order to put the pieces in place by enhancing, amending the rules and regulations so that we can be in a better place. We couldn't come here tonight and give that to you because we didn't have it to give to you. Now that you've given us the responsibility, we will make the changes that are so absolutely necessary and needed.
So I hear what you're saying, and we were doing so well today, Mayor. I hear what you're saying, but on that transition team, there were members of your administration, to my understanding. There are members of the PMUA on that transition team, to my understanding. So you said you wanted to make this a smooth transition, but I think it's kind of evident, right? We all have to admit this isn't really smooth, right? We hope it will be tomorrow, but it's not looking smooth right now. It's looking a little bumpy, but we are in we're not in 11th hour now. We're in the first hour of this new utility, and we had people from both sides on the transition team. So how come we weren't able to see what those rules were and then say, okay, day one, we're going to change A, B, C, and D, unless you're saying that we do have that in place, and on day 5, we're going to change A, B, C, and D.
The operation begins tomorrow. Actually, it begins this moment. Wait and see. Give us the opportunity to do all that you're asking and all that the residents need and deserve. We now have it under the city's umbrella as of your vote within the last 30 minutes or so.
Okay, and this one be my last question, I think. How are we going to onboard all of these employees in less than 24 hours, in less than 12 hours? Like, so can we expect at 5 a.m. or at 7 a.m. tomorrow, our trash will be picked up business as usual, or are we going to have to wait till a little bit later on in the day because now we have to onboard brand new employees?
I'm glad you asked that, because that's the operational piece that we were working on to make sure the transition is smooth. And those people are going to come to work tomorrow and they're going to get the job done. I don't know if you want to add anything more, Abby.
Yeah, I could speak to that. Just that we've been working with the USWU union. I've been meeting with them 4 to 5 times a week, every week, to make this transition happen. You have an ordinance next for their new salaries. They have orientations scheduled. Everything is scheduled outside of the hours of trash pickup. These are all things that we've thought through, and employees have their letter. They have their offer letters. They understand what they need to do next. They'll be meeting with me over the upcoming week, and they'll be onboarded seamlessly without interruption to service.
So this might be a little day-to-day-ish, and y'all can let me know, and I won't feel offended by it. But can we legally have, because you said they're going to be onboarded over the next few days, can we have employees working that haven't gone through a complete onboarding process? Like, you know, I'm a little bit more familiar with like how hiring goes at the city. And people have to be given
Absolutely.
start dates,
This
action
is our
forms.
process. This is our process. People have orientations after they've started work all the time. It's absolutely fine. 2 days later, 3 days later, they'll all be fully onboarded by Friday at 3 p.m. Next Friday at 3 p.m. And it's very that's really the day-to-day of the city.
That's fine.
Okay, so we're gonna move along. Unless someone that hasn't been heard already would like to ask another question or have a concern. I'm entertaining a motion for this particular ordinance.
One quick question, Council President. When will we start seeing reductions to the residents, since we don't have a rate ordinance for this utility? And actually, how will we bill them for tomorrow's garbage pickup?
What was that first part again, Councilman?
I'm in a reverse order. How do we bill them for tomorrow's garbage pickup? What's the price? And when will the 8 to 10% reduction be seen?
Visible.
Yeah, felt, not visible. Ms. Levinson?
Are you looking for the same?
Anybody that wants to answer. Oren, I'll take Oren. Dave Mincello
Director
is up on
Dabney.
the garbage costs.
I'm sure you meant to say Director Dabney, but in terms of the billing, I think we've already explained multiple times that your Q3 bill will be coming in the mail with an insert that will explain everything regarding payment.
Right, so that's for the first 2 quarters of the year. Tomorrow is the next quarter. It's your first day picking up garbage. How are you gonna bill them?
When you get your next quarter bill, you'll understand when you get the instructions.
The bills will be placed in an envelope and placed in the mail. That's how.
Excellent. And then when will they see the reduction in the rates?
So
8 to 10%, which is about $120.
Council President, I don't want to beat this horse anymore.
You're the one that offered that up.
And what I have said repeatedly.
So when can
we inherited the rates, we've inherited everything from the PMUA. We will continue to use those rates until we make the changes, the modifications, which will come to you. But right now, as of this moment in time, you've given us this 30 minutes ago. We will take it, we will run with it, we will make it better. And I could assure you that the relief that the people have been asking for will be provided.
So
thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I'm going to follow up on this. When I read the local finance,
Councilman McKenna, can you wrap it up though, please?
Yeah, absolutely. The primary savings comes from professional fees, which were minor, a couple hundred, 300,000, and then the rest comes from laying off the employees, which came to about, I think, all in 2.335 million. So that savings is already basically realized because you let those people go today. So how much more do you have to do to realize that everything else you do from this day on with operational magic is just going to be added savings? You already got 2.335 million in savings starting tomorrow. So when does the public get to see that? It was in the presentation you did to the local finance board. It was in the presentation that you did for the council in executive session. It's not in any presentation that you provided to the public, who pays all these bills, by the way, but it's right here in writing that I've read. So that's known savings. When's that going to happen? It was known savings that you said to the local finance board to get approval for this, that you were going to have those savings. And I got to take that back. You did not, because you recused yourself, Mayor. But I believe Mr. Lurch is the one that did that presentation with Mr. Johnson.
Does anyone have a response for Councilman McKenna?
Councilor McKenna, it will not be done necessarily on your timeline. It will be done within reason. It will be done properly. It will be done in a way that will reflect the relief that the people want, and we will do it. We will come back to this council with any rate adjustments that we will be presenting or looking to pass on to our residents. It will not be done on your timeline.
I didn't ask you. I asked you for a timeline. I didn't ask you to follow.
Yeah, I'm speaking. We will take the time and we will do what's right, what's necessary. And that's the last response that I will give to you on the matter. We will do what we need to do.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to move on. Thank you, Councilman McKenna. At this point, I'm entertaining a motion to adopt this ordinance. Do I hear one, please?
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Clerk, please.
Roll call on MC 2022-22, council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
No.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
No.
Mills Ransom. Councilwoman Mills Ransom,
You're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
5 in favor, 2 opposed. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
We now move to ordinances on the first reading. Clerk, will you read, please, MC 2022-30?
MC 2022-30 is an ordinance amending the schedule of salaries and wages adopted pursuant to Article 15, Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, 1971, United Service Worker Union Local 255.
Are there any questions from council members?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis, go right ahead.
We are doing this on first reading, but yet we are hiring these people. So how is this going to work if we still have to wait another 2 weeks for this to go on second reading and final passage? And are we going to have a resolution waiving the estoppel period from this? And how does this affect like people getting paid?
Mr. Council President, can Councilor Davis repeat her question?
Yeah, it did kind of go in and out. Councilwoman Davis, can you repeat the question again?
Yes. So if we're introducing this on the first reading, but we're hiring these people to start work tomorrow, but we still have to wait another 2 weeks for the second reading and final passage. So 2 questions. 1, how are these people going to get paid? Is this going to hold up their pay? And 2, are we going to have a resolution waiving the 20-day estoppel period?
So I'm not clear on what you're talking about when you ask or when you state that we're introducing something on first reading. I can tell you that with the dissolution, that takes effect immediately based on state statute. It takes effect immediately. In terms of there's something, we have 1 or 2 resolutions on the agenda to waive the estoppel period. Clerk, can you help me? I don't have the agenda in front of me. And can you help me out on those 2 resolutions that are waiving the estoppel period?
Yes, the resolutions that are waiving the estoppel period were for ordinances 21, dissolving the PMUA, and 22, creating the utility authority, the solid waste authority. This is the ordinance for the salary and wages for the United Services Worker Union, Local 255, and this is on first reading.
So in terms of the dissolution, and I know that Attorney Everett Johnson is on the call, and he can speak to the dissolution, but the dissolution takes effect immediately upon adoption, and there's no need for any estoppel waiver. Under the statute, it takes effect immediately. Attorney Johnson can address that.
No, I think you don't. I think you're not understanding the question. So
maybe I don't. Yes.
So we're on resolution. We're on MC 2022-30, which is an ordinance amending the schedule of salaries and wages for the United Service Workers Union. So this is on first reading. So I'm just asking like how those employees would be affected since this is only on first reading tonight, but we're looking to get them hired and started immediately.
Yes, Mayor, may I address the answer on this one?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, certainly. Thank you. Councilman Davis, in this limited instance, we are obligated to begin the pay period and make sure that these workers are paid at the rates set forth in this ordinance, with the understanding that the ordinance will be adopted. We are doing it on good faith to make sure that these workers get paid. We understand that we are awaiting a second reading, but we're not going to withhold pay on the administration will not withhold pay. That's my understanding, with the understanding that this will be adopted. This is one of a series of ordinances that needs to be adopted as part of the dissolution. We understand that this council's already voted to dissolve the PMUA to create a utility. This is another ordinance that must go along with that. So we understand that. The administration understands that. We believe the council understands that. So we expect that is to be adopted as well. And we're certainly not going to hold up anyone's pay while this ordinance waits for second reading, if that answers your question.
So can we do that legally? Just
Yes.
like,
Because yes, we can do it legally because as a practical matter, we can't have these individuals working without a pay structure. And we could certainly not have put this in place until there was the creation of the utility and the dissolution of the PMUA. So we have moved in the proper course here. The procedure has been appropriate, and we are going to make sure that the individuals get paid, and that this is going to be, and that it is our understanding that it will be adopted by council on second reading.
so, I mean, we know it probably will be adopted on second reading, but we're only moving in good faith. What happens if it wasn't to be adopted? Is the city now at like a liability?
Well, we would hope that we would hope that a council wouldn't do that, because that we obviously we move as partners, and we understand that as a body, if there was a majority of this body saw fit to dissolve and to create a utility, that would also understand that the workers have to come with it. So it would be, in my opinion, it would be remiss of the governing body to create a utility, but then not make arrangements for those workers to come along with that utility. So understanding that, we expect this body to adopt this salary ordinance to make sure that the workers can properly provide the services necessary for this utility.
Councilwoman, just to also answer your question, if this weren't to be adopted for some reason, I would go back to the union and renegotiate different titles that were already in the USWU so that it wouldn't impact anybody's pay.
So we're saying that this is legal and we're doing this in a legal way.
Absolutely. There is no other way to do this. This is the procedure by which you dissolve one entity and create another. There is no other way we could have done this. This is the way in which it has to be done legally. But the workers have to start right away.
I don't have any more questions.
Thank you.
Any more questions, council colleagues? I'll now entertain a motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
It's a roll call.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Mr. Clerk, please. A roll call.
Roll call on 2022-30, council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President Cray,
Yes.
Council President.
Yes.
That's unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
Mr. Clerk, will you please proceed with the reading of the remaining resolutions?
Resolution 231-21, waiving the estoppel period for MC 2022.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Is there a second?
Quick question for the estoppel, but could you just maybe corporate counsel or someone, just for the benefit of the public, could you just let them know what the estoppel period, what that means, just so the public will know?
Sure. Thank you, Councilwoman. Yes, in every ordinance that is adopted, except for a dissolution ordinance, as the mayor noted, which takes effect immediately, every other ordinance has a 20-day period before it goes into effect, unless the council adopts a resolution which waives that 20-day period and puts it in effect immediately. So what this resolution does, it just puts the ordinances in effect immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe I heard a second. Did I?
I did.
All in favor?
Who seconded that resolution?
I believe it was Councilman Hockaday. Am I wrong?
You are right.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 232-22, waiving the estoppel period for MC 2022-22.
Are there any questions?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 233-22, adopting the calendar year 2022 Plainfield Municipal Operating Budget.
Are there any questions, colleagues? If none, may I have a motion, please?
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstaining?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Favor, one opposed, with Councilman McKenna opposing.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, carry on, please.
Resolution 234-22, ratifying the execution of a memorandum of agreement between the City of Plainfield and the United Service Worker Union Local 255.
Are there any questions?
We skip a resolution?
I think we did. Yes.
Are there any questions?
Yes, did we skip 234-22?
34-22 as the.
That you just read that one, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
So online, it has that as the residency waiver. Do you have a different?
So 234 is the United Service Worker Union, 235 is the residency waiver, 236 is the appointment of the finance director.
Councilwoman Davis, I think it's flipped online. That's why I have it as well. That's why he'll read them. We'll be fine.
Okay.
So again, 234 ratifying the execution of a memorandum of agreement between the City of Plainfield, the United Service Worker Union Local 255. That is 234.
Okay, is there a motion?
Moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If none are abstaining, the motion will carry. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 235-22, granting a waiver of residency requirement for the City of Plainfield.
Again, are there any questions? If there are none, I need a motion.
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Davis.
So I see that we're waiving, well, it's more of a comment than a question. Let me be clear. So we're waiving the residency requirement for people who are coming over from the PMUA. So my concern about that is we have a residency requirement because the City of Plainfield should be hiring Plainfield residents. That's the thought behind us having a residency requirement. And while I understand that these employees have knowledge of the PMUA, if we're looking to do something different, maybe we need different employees, especially when we're saying, especially when these are not all specialized positions. We generally use residency waivers for specialized positions for specialized positions that residents may not have the license or the certification or the qualifications for. So I do have a concern that us as the City of Plainfield, us as a council who represent Plainfield residents, and I know I get calls from Plainfield residents all the time asking about any available jobs, asking, is the city hiring, asking these questions, that we're gonna waive the residency requirement when there are plenty of people in our own municipality, plenty of people that we represent who also need these jobs and can fulfill some, if not all of these jobs.
Council President, I have a question.
Yes, and so do I. Go right ahead.
So
Councilman
I think Councilwoman Davis has a point, with the reality is, the people who work there and
they're already there.
Yep. So, we want to be able to bring over folks. I do think that the administration and certainly council people should consider seriously granting any future waivers and encourage our Plainfield residents to hire, because I know B.A. Levinson could confirm, but they're looking to continue to build out the staff there, and we would like to do that with Plainfield residents. So, those should know that we're hiring, and we would prefer Plainfield residents, especially second chance residents.
I would not be for any waivers in the future, but if we're going to hit the ground running, we need the manpower that we have now.
So I hear what
Claiming my time. No, I'm just kidding.
I hear
apologize.
Both Councilman Hockaday and Council President Good are saying about these are people that already work at the PMUA, but there are also people who already work at the PMUA who are not coming over to the city of Plainfield, right? So we're not saying that every single person who currently works for the PMUA is coming over to the city of Plainfield to work. And like I said in the beginning, right, this residency requirement was created historically to have Plainfield residents work for the city of Plainfield. And I get that we want to hit the ground running, and I get that there's supposed to be a transition, but also in the transition team, I feel like this should have been researched a little bit better, right? If there was a team to transition this since it was announced in November. So to get a residency waiver 24 hours before the meeting, that doesn't sit well with me.
So President, if I may respond.
Please, Mayor.
I think this is a part of the operational review that occurred within the transition team. And this is what we are proposing. We don't want the city to look like a mess as a result of this transition. And so if we were not to grant waivers, it will create somewhat of a health crisis if we don't have people to collect the garbage. And so I will take that even further. If you were to conduct an audit right now of the 500 plus employees that we have working for the city, I guarantee you would come up with probably about 350 to 400 that don't live here in the city. They lived here at one point in time, and then they moved away. And I think that's the situation that we have here right now. But the more pressing need is for us to be able to have a smooth transition, have people out tomorrow morning, picking up the garbage and improving the cleanliness of the city. So I don't think you have a way around granting these waivers. You can choose not to, but it would not be in the best interest of the city. And I encourage you.
B.A. Levinson, moving forward, we will be soliciting those that live here in our city, correct?
We do that all the time.
Oh, no, I know, I'm saying moving forward, this particular waiver is for this situation here now, because of the staff that was formerly at the PMUA, correct?
Absolutely. And like I sent via email and spoke to Councilwoman Davis on the phone, there are 33 employees who are not residents of the city, who are integral to having the trash picked up, employees who are sanitation workers, drivers, etc. If you didn't grant them residency waiver, you would be laying off 33 more people tonight. We'd be laying off 33 more people today, which I'm sure nobody here wants to advocate for. Moving forward, now that we have a budget, which we just got also 10 minutes ago, and we just got a utility 10 minutes ago, we can post these positions ourselves. And once we post them ourselves, we will absolutely be posting them like always with a residency requirement. Once we're doing that, then we'll be able to hire all of our residents. But like I said, if we didn't have this on, you'd be having 33 more layoffs today and not be able to pick up the trash tomorrow.
I'm okay with that. I'm pleased with that.
So I hear what you're saying, right? I get that, but also all of these, I'm going to be on the side of the administration for 1 second, right? Because multiple things can be true at the same time, right? We can't paint the administration into a corner and say no more residency waivers are going to be given out for these positions, because we don't know that to be true, right? So we can't, we do residency waivers almost every month for various positions. So I don't want to paint the administration in this corner to say, we're never going to give out residency waivers again, because that's just disingenuous. And I don't really need them to be disingenuous about this, right? We can just simply be honest and truthful about it. Residency waivers are things that happen, right? They happen normally for specialized positions. They happen normally when special licenses and certificates are in play here. So we can't paint them into a corner and say, oh, there's never going to be residency waivers again. One, and two, it's up to the council to approve residency waivers. So this isn't really a question for BA Levinson or even the mayor about, are we going to do any more residency waivers? I think your question, while valid, is misdirected, and that should go to your fellow council members about, are we going to vote for residency waivers again? That's one. Two, not all of these positions that are asking for residency waivers are for drivers and people who are trash haulers, right? Some of them are for clerks, bilingual clerks, that we can find a plethora of in our own community, right? Some of them are for other positions that we can find within our own community. So I think it's not fair to say that, oh, if we don't grant these residency waivers, and make it seem like it's only trash haulers and the town is going to just be dirty. Like, while that is multiple things can be true at the same time, right? While that's part of the story, that's not the whole story. And we did have this discussion over the phone, BA Levinson, but that's not the whole story. It's not just trash haulers. And then we also, when we talked, I also said it's concerning. So that's what we're saying. That's the same thing I'm still saying here today.
28 of the 33 are sanitation workers and drivers. There's one bilingual clerk who has integral knowledge of the workings of the PMUA, and it has historical knowledge that we don't have, that we need.
But it's not the PMUA anymore, right? This is a new utility
of the operations, and 28 of 33 are sanitation workers and sanitation drivers.
And we need them, correct, BA Levinson?
Yes, we do.
Yes, yes, okay.
And let me add, we are not promising you that we will not be coming back for waivers in the future.
Thank you.
Can't make that promise.
Exactly.
And Councilor Davis, you said there are a plethora of bilingual people in the city and so on and so forth. Well, I can tell you, we've been looking for a bilingual person in the court and we can't find one. So wherever you are, bilingual folks, come forward because we need you. We want to hire you.
Bilingual clerk one in the municipal court, please. Please.
Challenge.
Well,
if you all send me a copy of that job posting, I will send it out to residents as well.
You will have it.
Let's add drivers and laborers to that too. We need drivers and we need laborers too, definitely. Sanitation workers.
Okay. That all being said, any more questions?
Yes, I have a question. So
Go right ahead, Councilwoman.
So how many more positions need to be filled? What's about how many? 10, 5, 20?
Well, drivers.
But just overall, including the clerks, everyone, the total, what's the total?
We're not going to be looking at clerk positions right now. We're not going to be looking at filling any more clerical staff right now, but we are immediately starting tomorrow hiring about 10 more sanitation workers and about 6 to 7 more sanitation drivers.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So that would fill, that would, even though you're going to hire the 10, 15 total, will that fill all the positions for now?
No.
So that we can at least be up and like really, really running?
No.
Well, once we have those people on board, then we know that we'll be at a staff number where we can make an assessment. And if we decide we're going to hire more, we're going to post again. But once we control the posting, because they're, it's under the city, then like I said, we can go back to hiring residents and be able to find that.
Okay, thank you.
Are you cool with that, Councilwoman Jones? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
That being said, I need a motion.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 236-22, granting advice consent to the appointment Director of Finance for the City of Plainfield.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to start.
Councilman Hockaday, you have the floor.
Okay, so I need to hear from the administration regarding the efforts to fill this position. Tell us about what you went through, how long it took. We all know it's going to be really hard to fill Ron West's shoes.
There's only one Ron West, Councilman.
One Ron West, but this is a position that we absolutely need. It's a vital position in the city. Tell us about your efforts and how this all came to be, please.
I will be happy to do so. So when Ron gave me the news that he is going to be retiring, we posted this position in both on our city website, like as we always do, but we also posted it where we post most of our director level positions, which is the New Jersey League of Municipalities classified website, which is where most people who are looking for director level positions go to search for such positions. Since we have posted this position and we renewed it, I believe 3 times, which would cover 3 months, we had 3 applicants. One is an applicant who has applied for almost every finance job that we've had in my tenure as BA. And Director West and I have assessed that candidate multiple times for multiple different openings. The other candidate was and I'm going to rely on Director West's memory for a second. I believe she was a college student.
Correct.
We're not going to say her name though, right? Please don't.
No, I'm not going to say
Okay.
anything. Just that she was a college student, and obviously, Director West very kindly met with her to give her kind of just some informational interview, but not what we're looking for right now, maybe in the future. And the third candidate is the candidate that is on your agenda tonight for advice and consent, who has a CPA and has the credentials of what we're looking for. So that was our process. We kept putting it out to see if we would get more applicants. We renewed it 3 times. That's how that process went. It's a very difficult to get, as you know, we've gone through this with the CFO position, and we had similar struggles, which we ended up very happy with Mr. Kairu, but it was a process to get there. So.
Are there any more questions?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Davis.
Well, less of a question, more of a comment. So I did see the posting on the League of Municipalities website. I saw it on the city website. People actually sent it to me like, hey, didn't know the city of Plainfield was hiring. So I do think efforts were made to look for a candidate, but also multiple things can be true at the same time. Right, with one of those things being that this candidate has a lot of qualifications to be the director of finance. But I think there is also another elephant in the room that has to be addressed, right? And that's one of the perception of nepotism, right? The definition of nepotism is the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs. Right. So while this candidate may be highly qualified, right, and may be a great selection, I think that the perception of nepotism is one that needs to be taken into account. My second concern is this candidate was also a high level position in the PMUA. Right. This is public information. Everybody knows it. We continue to call the PMUA a failed experiment. We continue to say that the PMUA was not working. So now my concern is about the leadership ability of this person who was once a leader of the PMUA, right? On paper, they're not technically bad, right? But in practice, from what I've been able to see through their time leading the PMUA, it leads me for cause of concern. So I think that it's up to this council to decide what is the culture we want to create and giving advice and consent to members of the administration, right? Because another thing that can be true is the mayor gets to pick his team. But what I see, Mr. Minchella, I just want to finish my statement. But to what end do we as a council allow that to happen? So those are my concerns about this.
Mr. Michello, we really need to hear from you right now.
Thank you, Council President. Okay, so first off, I can't speak to perception, but I can give you the facts and the law. And the law as it pertains to the hiring of this particular candidate. In this instance, the mayor did reach out to me immediately and asked me for my legal opinion. And I vetted this candidate from a legal perspective, and I reviewed it under the local government ethics law. And I can tell you unequivocally that there is no ethical violation with this nomination of this candidate for advice and consent by the council at all. Furthermore, under any nepotism policy that I'm aware of, an individual who is related by marriage, such as this, someone who's not an immediate member of the household, would not fall under most nepotism policies that I'm aware of. So I don't see it as even though we don't have a nepotism policy in the city of Plainfield, I don't think it would fall under many that I've seen. And furthermore, it is not a violation of the local government ethics law for this nomination to come forward. And finally, if I could add, this candidate, of course, did work for the PMUA, but never have I heard of any complaints with regard to the handling of the finances of that agency. All of the concerns with regard to the service of that industry. So I think it would be really unfair to take out the issues of that agency on the individual who handled the finances. This individual comes with a wealth of experience, as noted by Councilwoman Davis herself when she started her comments. And I think she's an excellent candidate. And being that this is an incredibly difficult position to fill, as someone who works in government myself, and as a municipal attorney for most of my career, I can tell you how difficult it is to find qualified financial people. I would say that we are lucky to have somebody with her qualifications to put forward. And I'm happy to answer any questions on the legal issues, Council President. Thank you.
Council colleagues, do you have any questions for Mr. Mincello? Please. If there aren't any, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
No.
Are there any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Can we have a roll call on this, Mr. Clerk?
Sure. Roll call on resolution 236-22. Council members Davis.
You skipped over Councilwoman Briggs Jones, but no.
I'm sorry. Yes, Councilwoman Briggs Jones.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
No.
Councilman Hockaday.
Yes.
Councilman McKenna.
No.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom.
Yes.
Vice President McCray.
Yes.
Council President Good?
Yes.
It's 5 in favor, 2 opposed. Resolution passes.
Thank you, council colleagues, for your time this evening, input, etc. Mr. West? I see you peeking over the.
Well, I have a leaning chair, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I speak freely for everyone that is here present on this meeting tonight, that you will surely be missed, truly be missed. And I just hope that whoever, comes up behind you can do just as a good a job as you have. And I'm pretty sure that she will. So thank you so much. You will be surely missed. And stop by, and I'm pretty sure, if we see you, we'll be glad to see you. But you're right here in Plainfield, though. I mean, we all know where you are. we may just all get together and come by. You just never know.
Well, thank you. And it's been a real team effort for 8 years. And I'm thankful for having had an opportunity to serve the people of Plainfield.
Okay, thank you so much. That being said, motion to adjourn, please.
President, Council President.
It's you again, Mayor?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir. Go right ahead.
I don't want this meeting to be adjourned without me taking the opportunity to thank Director West for the enormity of his contribution to the city of Plainfield over his tenure as the Director of Finance. And prior to that, the Director of Administration and Finance. And so he has been very instrumental in all that we have accomplished over the years, going back to the administration of the late Al McWilliams and coming into my administration. He has done a tremendous job, and he has put our finances in order. He has been a mentor to other directors, and I can't say enough about Ron West and the contribution that he's made. So Ron, I personally thank you. The administration thanks you, and we wish you nothing but the best as you move on to the next chapter. Thank you.
Colleagues, let's give it up for Mr. West. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second, aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Everyone have a great night.